The film opens with a mother named Duri and her son, Gani, who has skipped his training session to watch his father, Vikram, compete in a televised boxing match. After the match, the Ministry of Sports holds a meeting to discuss the event, as rumors spread that Vikram had used performance-enhancing steroids, which allegedly led to his death during the fight. As a result, all boxers from the Andhra Pradesh region are banned from participating in national championships. Even the local boxing training centers in Andhra Pradesh are forcibly shut down. To make matters worse, Gani faces relentless bullying from his peers and villagers, who believe his father's actions have tarnished the village's reputation. Fortunately, his mother steps in to protect and comfort him during this difficult time. Despite this, the situation escalates when their home is vandalized by angry villagers that very night. The next morning, Duri announces that they must move away, as they are no longer welcome in the village. At that moment, she makes Gani promise never to follow in his father's footsteps and enter the world of boxing. Time passes, and Duri has become a successful entrepreneur in the clothing industry. Meanwhile, in another part of town, a street fight breaks out. A remarkably strong man dominates his opponent and challenges others to face him. No one dares to step up until an older man named Naresh boldly shouts a challenge. Naresh, with his overconfident demeanor, taunts the formidable fighter. However, when his challenge is accepted, Naresh backs down and sends a student forward instead. Surprisingly, the student is Gani. As soon as Gani enters the ring, he is attacked, but with a single punch, he sends his opponent flying. Refusing to give up, the opponent charges again, and the fight intensifies. Initially, Gani dominates, but as his opponent's attacks grow fiercer, Gani finds himself cornered. Seeing this, Naresh approaches Gani and whispers something in his ear. Instantly, Gani rises to his feet, fueled by his coach's words, and delivers a powerful counterattack that knocks his opponent out cold. In the end, Gani emerges victorious. Later, his friends ask Naresh what he said to Gani that gave him such strength. At that moment, Naresh reveals that he simply mentioned the name of Vikram, Gani's father, which stirred his emotions and drove him to win. The next morning, as Gani prepares to leave for college, his mother interrogates him about why he came home so late the previous night. Afraid of being caught, Gani lies, claiming he went to the movies and even shows her a movie ticket as proof. However, Duri knows that Gani is lying because the ticket he gave her is actually a grocery store receipt. But for Duri, it doesn't matter. Gani's happiness means more to her than anything else. Time passes, and during one of their training sessions, Naresh tells Gani that he has prepared everything Gani needs to become the regional boxing representative. Shortly after, Gani participates in the selection process and is declared qualified. At that moment, Naresh warns Gani to prepare himself, as his upcoming opponents will be highly trained and formidable. Elsewhere, a young man is seen training in a boxing ring. The young man is Adi, the son of a high-ranking official. During their conversation, his father expresses his hopes for Adi and asks him to join the family business to manage their wealth. However, Adi refuses, stating that he wants to carve out his own identity through boxing. At that moment, Adi tells him that while his father built his identity through wealth, Adi wants to build his by becoming India's boxing champion. His father, moved by his son's determination, feels a surge of pride. Several days later, at night, a group of teenagers is seen partying and engaging in illegal street racing. Among them is Krish, a racer looking for a challenger. When no one steps forward, Adi suddenly appears and accepts the challenge. On the other hand, Gani, who is returning home with his new girlfriend Maya, finds his path blocked by the same group of teenagers who have closed off the road for Krish and Adi's race. Gani tries to take a detour, but Maya, growing impatient, confronts the teenagers, provoking them. A heated argument breaks out between Maya and one of the boys. Moments later, Gani steps in to separate them. However, when the boy makes an inappropriate advance toward Maya, Gani loses his temper, and a brawl ensues. One by one, Gani takes down the teenagers. Just as the situation seems to calm, Adi, who is racing through the area, arrives on the scene. As a result, a fistfight breaks out between Gani and Adi. Fortunately, the police arrive in time to separate them. At that moment, the officers warn Adi to stop causing trouble in public, reminding him that his actions could tarnish his family's reputation, given that his father is a public official. After the incident, Gani confronts Maya, furious at her childish behavior. He tells Maya that he doesn't want love to ruin his life or become an obstacle to achieving his dreams. Maya, hurt and misunderstanding his words, believes Gani sees her as nothing more than a distraction. Angry and upset, she storms off, leaving Gani behind. The next day, Gani, afraid that his girlfriend might leave him for good, tries calling Maya. However, she doesn't answer because she's having breakfast. Later that afternoon, while Gani is out shopping with his mother, one of the boys he fought with the previous night spots him and immediately calls Adi. In response, Adi rushes to the scene, and they chase Gani and his mother into the mall. Adi searches for Gani, but luckily, Gani manages to slip away unnoticed. However, as one of Adi's friends heads to the parking lot to ride his motorcycle, he finds that the bike won't move. It turns out Gani is holding it back. At that moment, Gani calmly tells him to let go of the past and move on peacefully. With that, he releases the motorcycle and walks away. Later, Gani competes in the semi-final match to secure a spot as the regional representative for the National Boxing Championship. After a hard-fought victory, Gani is overjoyed to advance to the final. To his delight, Maya reconciles with him and sends him a gift, a pair of boxing gloves. Worried that his mother might open the package and discover his secret, Gani quickly retrieves the delivery before she can see it. Fortunately, Gani manages to get the package in time, and his mother remains unaware. That evening, Gani meets Maya and opens up about his past, hoping she will understand him better and see why boxing means so much to him. The next day, Gani is seen preparing for the final match to determine the regional representative for the national championship. Unexpectedly, his opponent for the match is none other than Adi, the finalist from another zone. As a result, the tension between them is palpable as they exchange heated words, setting the stage for a fierce and intense battle. Meanwhile, one of the event organizers, upon reading Gani's profile and discovering that he is the son of Vikram, makes a phone call to someone living in a remote mountain area. At the same time, Gani's mother learns the truth about his boxing pursuits after seeing his match reported in the newspaper. Back at the arena, Gani and Adi step into the ring, and without delay, the fight begins. The first round is evenly matched, with both fighters trading blows and neither gaining a clear advantage. By the second round, Gani starts to dominate, overwhelming Adi with his relentless attacks. However, in the third round, Adi tries to break Gani's focus by taunting him about Maya. The provocation works, and Gani loses his temper, unleashing a furious assault on Adi. Not stopping there, Adi, still unsatisfied, tries to provoke Gani further by bringing up his father, Vikram, and the rumors of steroid use that tarnished his legacy. This strikes a nerve, and Gani's emotions explode, causing him to lose control. In a fit of rage, he brutally attacks Adi, breaking the rules in the process. Fortunately, Gani's outburst is stopped before it's too late, saving Adi's life. However, Gani's use of illegal elbow strikes and his loss of control lead to his disqualification and a temporary ban from competing. By the rules, Adi is declared the winner. Furious and heartbroken, Gani storms into the locker room, where his mother soon arrives to console him. In a moment of raw emotion, Gani vents his frustration about his father. He expresses his anger at being born as Vikram's son, blaming his loss on his inability to keep his composure when his father's name was brought up. Just as the tension peaks, a stranger enters the room. The man revealed to be Vijender, Vikram's former opponent from the finals years ago. At that moment, Vijender is visibly angry with Gani and sets the record straight. He reveals that the rumors about Vikram using steroids were nothing but lies. To Vijender, Vikram was the greatest boxer he had ever faced. The scene shifts to a flashback, showing Vikram in his prime as a regional boxing champion. More than just a champion, Vikram was a tireless advocate for the recognition of boxing in his region. One day, during training, one of his juniors, Ramesh, suffers a severe accident due to the lack of proper safety equipment provided by the local government. The incident leaves Ramesh permanently injured and blind, ending his boxing career. Devastated, Vikram and his friends approach the local government, demanding better support, facilities, and a secure future for boxers, just like athletes in other sports. However, the officials dismissed their pleas, calling boxing a cheap sport and refusing to allocate funds for it. Vikram is furious, but his right-hand man and coach, Ishwar, steps in to calm him down. Ishwar explains that if boxing is to gain recognition in their region, the only way is for Vikram to become a national champion. Attacking the government, he says, will achieve nothing. Realizing this, Vikram's spirit ignited with newfound determination. The very next day, he made the bold decision to leave his job and dedicate himself entirely to the world of boxing. When returning home, Vikram shared his decision with his wife, explaining his vision to create a platform where no aspiring boxer would ever be neglected. His dream was to establish a place where every athlete would have access to the facilities and support needed to become national and even international champions. He decided to name this platform the Bharat Boxing Academy. The following day, Vikram and Ishwar went to register for the National Boxing Championship. That day, they caught sight of the reigning champion, none other than Vijender. Soon after, Vikram's qualifying matches began. Unexpectedly, Vikram won every match, made him advance to the finals, where he was set to face Vijender. However, just days before the match, Vikram and Ishwar had a meeting with Ambarisha, the head of one of the largest sponsors in the boxing world. At first, Ambarisha congratulated Vikram on his incredible achievement of reaching the finals. But then, he made an unexpected request. He asked Vikram to throw the match. Ambarisha explained that his company had already invested heavily in sponsoring Vijender this year and promised Vikram full sponsorship and a guaranteed championship title the following year. Hearing this, Vikram was furious, feeling manipulated and disrespected. His anger boiled over, and he even lashed out at Ambarisha's bodyguards, leaving Ambarisha visibly shaken. Fortunately, Ishwar stepped in to calm Vikram down and promptly escorted Ambarisha out of their training facility. Not long after, the day of the final match arrived. Vikram and Vijender soon stepped into the ring, and without delay, the fight began. In the first 3 rounds, Vikram dominated, leaving Vijender struggling to keep up. Even at the start of the 4th round, Vikram seemed to have the upper hand. But midway through the 4th round, something shifted. Vikram's focus began to waver, and Vijender seized the opportunity, delivering a series of powerful blows that ultimately led to Vikram's defeat. That evening, Vijender celebrated his victory. But amidst the festivities, Ishwar suddenly appeared and approached Vijender. Surprisingly, Ambarisha was also present. At that moment, Ambarisha urged Vijender to thank Ishwar, revealing that he had played a crucial role in his victory. It turned out that Ishwar had secretly spiked Vikram's drink with steroids during the match, weakening him and making it easier for Vijender to win. Unbeknownst to Vikram, Ishwar had struck a deal with Ambarisha before the match, conspiring to ensure his defeat in exchange for a hefty payout. Vijender was furious upon learning the truth, realizing that his victory was tainted and that he had become a pawn in their scheme. But there was little he could do. He had unwittingly become complicit in their crime. In the present, Ghani, who had been harboring resentment toward his father for 15 years, was overcome with guilt upon discovering the truth. Returning home, he found himself staring at old memories of his father, recalling the advice and wisdom his father had shared with him during his childhood. The next day, Ghani met Vijender again, this time at a cafe. At that moment, Ghani asked Vijender for help to get himself included in the national boxing tournament, which now went by a different name. Vijender couldn't promise anything, but when Ghani explained that it was all for the sake of his father, Vijender agreed to assist him. After their meeting, Vijender went to see the sports minister and pleaded for Ghani's ban from competing to be lifted. Since the request came from an Indian boxing legend, the minister granted his approval. Once the permission was secured, Vijender called Ghani and told him to prepare for intense training at his private villa. Soon enough, the day arrived, and Ghani was put through a grueling training regimen. After enduring the rigorous training, Ghani and Vijender attended the opening ceremony of the India Boxing League. It was there that Ghani saw Ishwar for the first time, a man who had risen to success after betraying Ghani's father, Vikram. The following day, one of the Indian Boxing League investors visited Ishwar at his office and reported a problem. The league had not yet received approval from the Sports Advisory Board. Ishwar immediately called Irfan, the sports minister. However, Irfan refused to grant permission, believing Ishwar was acting recklessly. Enraged, Ishwar took matters into his own hands and, in a brutal act of vengeance, ran Irfan over with a truck. With Irfan gone, the India Boxing League was finally able to proceed. The matches began, and the participants started competing. One morning, the sponsors held a meeting with Ishwar. They expressed concerns about the profits they were supposed to earn. However, Ishwar assured them that the real profit would come from exploiting audience betting. Not only that, Ishwar had already brought in India's top betting experts, and they would manipulate the matches to maximize their gains. Hearing the promise of a staggering profit of 300 to 400 million rupees, the sponsors fell silent and agreed to follow Ishwar's plan. One evening, during a boxing event reception, Ishwar approached Vijender, and for the first time, Ishwar and Ghani came face to face. Ishwar tried to provoke Ghani, acting as though he held all the power, claiming he was the one who decided who won and who lost. But Ghani remained calm, warning Ishwar not to be arrogant, as he had been carrying the weight of a grave sin for 15 years. Ghani added that every victory he achieved would only deepen Ishwar's fear and bring him closer to his downfall. True to his word, Ghani began competing in the qualifying matches. With each win, he earned more admiration from the crowd. At the same time, Ishwar grew visibly uneasy. During a meeting with the sponsors, he faced increasing pressure as Ghani's victories began to overshadow their plans. With no other option, Ishwar started devising a way out of this predicament and secretly arranged a meeting with Adi. The following day, as Ghani was walking with Vijender, Adi suddenly approached to make amends and apologize to Ghani. It turned out that Adi had learned the truth about Vikram. Ghani, being kind-hearted, accepted the apology, and the two became friends. During their conversation, Adi urged Ghani to win the championship on behalf of their region, as Adi had already been defeated by a fighter named Ivan. That evening, the semi-final match between Ghani and Kala began. The first round was evenly matched, with neither fighter gaining a clear advantage. In the second round, Kala targeted Ghani's ribs relentlessly. By the third round, Kala continued his aggressive assault, but in the final moments, Ghani unleashed a powerful straight punch that sent Kala crashing to the ground, securing Ghani's victory. However, the triumph came at a cost. Ghani was rushed to the hospital, where it was discovered that he had suffered a cracked rib, a serious injury that made it dangerous for him to continue competing. Vijender, concerned for Ghani's well-being, suggested withdrawing from the tournament and trying again the following year. But before they could finalize the decision, Ishwar arrived, pretending to be sympathetic while secretly mocking Ghani's predicament. Moments later, Ishwar revealed his true intentions, boasting that he had orchestrated everything, even arranging for Kala's team to deliberately injure Ghani. He further taunted Ghani, stating that his next opponent would be Ivan, a monstrous fighter trained in Russia, whom Ishwar had personally groomed. To add salt to the wound, Ishwar disclosed a shocking truth. Vikram, Ghani's father, had initially survived the hospital incident, but Ishwar had bribed the doctors to ensure his death. Enraged by this revelation, Ghani refused to withdraw from the tournament. Instead, he vowed to continue fighting, fueled by a burning desire for justice. The next day, Ghani's mother, Duri, visited him in the hospital. With tears in her eyes, she gave him her blessing to fight and win the championship. Duri encouraged Ghani to channel his anger into strength and to infuse every punch with the pain he carried. She reminded him that each strike should embody the revived ambitions of his late father. Finally, the night of the championship arrived. Ghani prepared himself in his room, steeling his resolve. With determination etched on his face, he entered the arena. Soon after, Ivan made his grand entrance, accompanied by dramatic music, and the match began. Shortly after, in the first round, Ghani struggled to land effective blows, as Ivan seemed impervious to his attacks. By the second round, Ivan launched a relentless offensive, leaving Ghani staggering and barely holding on. Fortunately, the bell rang, saving Ghani from further punishment. On the third round, Ghani enduring a brutal beating from Ivan, though he managed to land a few counterattacks. By the fourth round, Ghani began to find his rhythm, delivering more frequent and precise strikes. Sensing that Ghani was gradually gaining control of the match, Ishwar, watching from a distance, signaled Adi to take action. It turned out that during their meeting the previous day, Ishwar had instructed Adi to slip steroids into Ghani's drink. Without hesitation, Adi handed the spiked drink to Ghani, who drank it unknowingly. The fifth round began shortly after. At first, the fighters appeared evenly matched, but Ivan deliberately headbutted Ghani, causing Ghani to stagger. His vision blurred, and his balance faltered. Despite this, the match continued. Ivan launched another brutal assault, landing a devastating punch that sent Ghani crashing to the ground. As a result, the referee began the count. In his semi-conscious state, Ghani was flooded with memories of his past, his struggles, his father's dreams, and his own determination. Fueled by these thoughts, he summoned the strength to rise to his feet just before the count ended. Seeing this, Ivan continued to pummel him mercilessly, but fortunately, the bell rang, saving Ghani from further damage. During the break, Vijender urged Ghani to surrender, but Ghani refused. Seeing his determination, Vijender advised Ghani to use the special technique they had trained, a move that would make him impervious to punches and give him a chance to defeat Ivan. The sixth round began, and true to Vijender's words, Ghani seemed unstoppable. He absorbed Ivan's blows with ease and retaliated with precision. With a powerful uppercut, Ghani sent Ivan sprawling to the ground. Ivan tried to get up, but the pain was too much, and he collapsed again, unable to continue. Ghani emerged victorious, celebrating his hard-fought win with uncontainable joy. Meanwhile, Ishwar watched in frustration, his plans crumbling before his eyes. As a result, Ishwar faced the wrath of the bettors and sponsors, who demanded answers, leaving him visibly stressed. Not long after, Ghani approached Ishwar, ready to confront him. At that moment, Ghani revealed that Adi had never actually spiked his drink with steroids. In fact, Ghani had instructed Adi to pretend to follow Ishwar's orders, all part of a plan to trap Ishwar in his own web of deceit. Not only that, Ghani also warned Ishwar to prepare for his arrest. He explained that when Ishwar had confessed to orchestrating the death of Ghani's father, Vijender had secretly recorded the entire conversation. That recording now served as undeniable evidence against Ishwar. Before leaving, Ghani asked Ishwar if he believed in karma, then declared that karma had come for him, in the form of Ghani himself. With that, Ghani walked away, leaving Ishwar to face the consequences of his actions. Overwhelmed by stress and drowning his sorrows in alcohol, Ishwar eventually collapsed and died. Several months later, Ghani fulfilled his father's dream by establishing a boxing platform named Bharat Boxing Academy. Moral lesson from the story: if you're going to fight for your dreams, make sure your mom approves, otherwise, you'll end up hiding boxing gloves like they're contraband. Also, never trust a guy who whispers secrets in a boxing ring. It's probably not a winning strategy, just drama.